Happy Monday to everybody. We are doing a position battle. Good morning. What is up, Finn fans? Was going to change it up on you. Was going to do a reaction video today to the Dolphins culture changes on YouTube. It's Pro Football Talk. We're going to do that tomorrow. But I found this quote on Twitter. One of you guys sent it to me, and it was Kendall Lamb talking about, his time with the Dolphins versus his time with the Eagles in the short term now. But then somebody also sent an exact quote of Cooper saying that the wide receiver going from the Browns to the Bills. So, and it's like literally to a T. So I'm going to do more research into it and see if Kendall Lamb actually said it before I make a video talking about culture and change and everything. So the culture change video is tomorrow. Today we are breaking down the wide receiver position battles. But I do really quickly want to, shout out somebody. And it is Leonard. And he says, I love when you post videos every day because it's well in my routine for breakfast every morning. And it's funny he says that because that's the reason, that's like the major reason why, like I'm recording this right now at 1:30 in the morning, Monday morning for me and Sunday night. I know it's technically Monday. I haven't gone to sleep yet, so it's still the same day. That's why I release these at 7 in the morning, because a lot of you guys tell me, guys and girls, tell me that you listen to this either in the car, on the way to work, getting ready for work, or just in the morning. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to make it like a morning thing, because I live in Jersey, and my thing when I used to drive to work was listening to Boomer and Carton in the morning. So shout out to you, Leonard. That's why I do it, actually. It's funny that you bring that up, because I'm like, you know what? Let's release them in the morning. So we're going to talk wide receivers. The wide receiving group is long. That's what she said. And this is what it looks like right here. We have Andrew Armstrong, who's the rookie. We have Monterey Baldwin, who's a rookie. We have Tyreek Black. He was with us last year. D. Estridge, 5-year vet. Eric Uzakama, been with us 3 years. AJ Henning, undrafted free agent. Tyreek Hill, Jaylen Waddle. We also have Malik Washington, Taj Washington. Hopefully we get to see some more of Taj. Theo Weiss, who's an undrafted free agent. And then Nick Westbrook, who I'm very excited to see. Here's the biggest thing, right? Here's the biggest thing. Here's your starters. Your starting 3 receivers for last year, right? Look at their heights. It's all the way over here in the corner. 5'10", 5'10", 5'8". Even Taj, 5'10". D. Estridge, 5'9". Seeing something? So like Andrew Armstrong, we're going to talk about all these guys, but there's going to be a battle for that. And then obviously you have Nick Westbrook, who's sitting here at 6'2". He's going to be, tallest receiver. That's going to be one of the starting 4. So we're going to talk about it, right? I'm going to talk about obviously Hill and Waddle just a little bit, especially Hill because of a quote he said that I do want to talk about, and then we'll get into the battle. So real quick, this is Tyreek Hill. It's off. I'm just going to let you listen to it. He was at Fan Fanatics or like Fan something, and this is what he had to say.
I'm going to hang out with Ramsey next week, man. So I'm going to get him back to go more runs. More question. I'm getting the Ramsey back in the Dolphins jersey. I don't care what they say, tampering, whatever. Hell yeah. But we need Ramsey, dog. He's a dog. He's one of the best corners in the league, man. A great leader, a great teammate too, though. So that's what he doesn't get a lot of credit for, man. Because me and him both were on your team, and we just need him on the Dolphins.
So essentially he's saying he's full court press trying to get Jaylen Ramsey back and to stay with the Dolphins. He said at the time when this was released, it was the 21st, which was Saturday, but I think this was probably Friday. He was saying he's going to try his best to get him to stay. I don't think anything he's really going to say is going to get him to stay. I think it's a divide, even if he says he wants to stay. I don't know if the front office is going to do it. From what I'm hearing, he wants to go to the West Coast. We talked about that on Saturday. The 49ers are a team that has now been thrown out there. Supposedly the Steelers are not interested. I don't think they ever really were interested. So a lot of interesting tidbits and information on that end. So let's talk about the wide receivers in the position battles. Obviously, you have Tyreek Hill, your number one guy, 959 yards last year. Not great, 27th ranked in the NFL after almost going for 2K the year before. He only had 6 touchdowns, and he had 3 drops. So he didn't drop the ball much, even though he had the bad wrists. Then you have Jaylen Waddle, 744 yards, 39th ranked, 2 touchdowns. He had 6 drops, 9.4% drop percentage, 30th highest in the NFL. He's a little bit better about the dropsies. There's your number one, number two, right? And a lot of people want to talk about it. It is a foregone conclusion. I talked about it. I think it was on Friday. I showed a little glimpse of the cap situation, what could happen if, everything goes belly up and we move on from Tyreek Hill and potentially Tua Tagovailoa. Some people didn't like that. It is what it is. It's, I'm preparing you for the worst, and that's something that's going to happen if this goes belly up and we get a new head coach and new GM. But honestly, I don't see Tyreek Hill on the team next year. I think this is his last year, and if the team is falling apart, I think he gets traded before the trade deadline. And again, as soon as he gets traded before the trade deadline, as soon as he gets traded, the Miami Dolphins will instantly take $33.6 million and boop, put it in their cap space. So he could get traded week 5. All of a sudden, you'll see the Miami Dolphins cap situation next year be like -$3 million to jump to $30 million in cap space, like that. So, but again, I don't see him on the team next year. So then Jaylen Waddle's your number one receiver. I have no qualms, no reservation, no bix, whatever you want to say, that Jaylen Waddle can't be a number one. We've seen him take the reins in 2023 against the Jets when Tyreek was hurt. Came in, had a fantastic game, kind of showed how Tua, plays without Tyreek Hill on the team. Not saying, again, people need to realize something. When I say stuff like that, I'm not saying that Tyreek Hill, without him on the team, we're fine. No, obviously Tyreek Hill is a generational talent, and with him on the field, we are better. But Jaylen Waddle's your number one. Not this year, but going forward, he is your number one. So there's your number one and number two receivers, 1A, 1B, however you want to say it. Then your number 3 is where it comes in, and this is where the battle starts. Obviously, there's multiple facets of this position battle because there is so many wide receivers. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 wide receivers on the roster right now. So, and on Friday, I was like, I'm surprised they didn't add, or they might add another running back. And some people were like, we don't need running backs. I know we don't need it, but for depth, obviously you don't want to run your guys into the ground. I said in the video, just listen to what I'm saying. But anyway, so there's that first facet of the battle, right? Because there's who's going to make the roster, who's going to, whatever. The first battle is who's number 3. Right. Obviously, we saw what Malik Washington could do last year. Very, very good for us. Did his thing. But again, he's 5'8", and I like Malik, and I think Malik is going to be very good for the Dolphins. And we even saw a glimpse of that. But he's 5'8". The guy that I think is going to be the biggest battle with Malik is Nick Westbrook, who's 6'2", and he actually, we saw it. I think it was the Wednesday of minicamp, the 11th, or maybe it was the 10th, when they were I think it was the 10th when they were doing red zone drills. He shined because that's where we're going to use him. You saw it with the Tennessee Titans. He was making great plays from the 30-yard line, doing his thing, getting in the end zone. I think he had 6 touchdowns and barely any yards because, he was just using his body the way that the Dolphins need that type of receiver at 6'2". So that's sort of the biggest battle is who's the number 3 guy, right? When we're running, nickel, when we're running 3, whatever, pick the play that we're running. Who's that number 3 guy? And I think in certain situations, I think it's a situational thing. Obviously if we need speed, if you want to have 3 speedy guys out there, you put Tyreek, Waddle, and Malik Washington out there. But I think if you're giving me an I formation, a single back formation, 3 wide receiver set with a tight end, whatever you want to give me, I think once we get into the 30-yard line-ish, right? like we're right outside the red zone, I think that's when you're going to start to see Nick Westbrook get incorporated. So, I think Nick Westbrook is your number 3, but I think it's a situational thing with him and Malik, right? Because you're going to start to see, if you remember when Tua, his first 2 years as the starter, so I think 2021-ish, and then 2022, obviously, McDaniel took over. But you saw in 2021 when he was targeting Devontae Parker, and he was throwing crazy back shoulder passes to him because he knew he's tall and he can catch. Right, I don't have to worry about getting it to him in certain spots and throwing it with the anticipation because he's not tall enough that I can just throw. Prime example, and obviously I think that Houston Texans game where he threw the interception to Tyreek Hill, I think it was an underthrow. But if that is Jamar Chase, if that's DK Metcalf, if that's I'm trying to think of top receivers, and for some reason my brain is just shutting itself off. Let's just use Jamar Chase and DK Metcalf for now. You can name any other receiver you want to, like the tall, physical-bodied receiver. They're catching that ball, right? Regardless if it's underthrown or not. It was a man 50-50, type of pass where it shouldn't have been. They're catching that ball. Even if it's, Cooper, if it's CeeDee Lamb, if it's any of these guys, they are catching that ball. Obviously, Tyreek was dealing with wrist injuries, but he's 5'10". He can't really get all the way up there. So I think that's where you're going to start to see that. Then you have the aspect of who's going to make the roster, right? Because you have Andrew Armstrong, undrafted free agent, Monterey Baldwin, undrafted free agent. You have AJ Henning, undrafted free agent. You have Theo Weiss, undrafted free agent. Now, Andrew Armstrong, a lot of people thought he was going to go in like the 5th or the 6th round. He goes undrafted, right? 6'4". I would love to see him make the roster. There are guys on here like Eric Uzukama, who's been with us for 3 years. He just can't stay healthy. I saw some things D. Estridge did, especially in camp with the one-handed catch. But again, 5'9". Tariq Black, I think he was undrafted last year. It's now about these guys, and again, I'm getting all jazzed up because that's what preseason's for. You're going to see you're not going to see Tyreek Hill and Jaylen Waddle, right? You'll see Westbrook, you'll see Malik, you'll see Taj, you'll see Theo Weiss, but that's what I'm interested in seeing. Theo Weiss and Andrew Armstrong and Monterey Baldwin, and I want to see what these guys can do, what Eric Uzukama can do, because Eric Uzukama had so many opportunities, and I think it was in 2023 at the beginning of the season when he was like doing well. I think he took an end around in for a touchdown, or he was doing well, and then he got hurt. And then last year he got hurt, and he keeps like getting that injury bug where he gets banged up, and he's not that high up on the totem pole of receivers that they will save a roster spot for him. You know what I'm saying? Like, if he gets hurt with something that he'll be out for 4 to 5 weeks, they're just like, we're going to stash him away on IR. And, we'll bring, we're more worried about at the time Craycraft and Barrios, and we're more worried about bringing these guys need to come back. Whereas Eric Uzukama, he's more of a special teamer, and we had some plays from here and there. He's battling to make the roster along with these undrafted free agents in Armstrong, Baldwin, Weiss, and Henne. So that's where, this receiving core and the corner core, which we're going to talk about. Next is tight ends. Then we go offensive line. Then we go defensive line, pass rushers, linebackers, then corners. The corners are going to be another interesting battle because there's so many of them. I'll tell you right now how many corners we have on the roster. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So the same amount as we do receivers, obviously, because they're going to go up against each other. But then you have like Elijah Campbell, who's considered a defensive back. So, corner is another video that's going to be very interesting to make. But this receiving core is deep, to me anyway. I like what we have there. Again, Tyreek and Waddle, your guys. Malik has shown flashes. I really like the addition of Westbrook. So you got 4 guys there that I feel very comfortable going into the season with. And then you have guys like Taj Washington. I'm very excited to see what he can do. I want to see Andrew Armstrong. We saw, like I said, I'm repeating myself, but D. Estridge, that one-handed catch. What I'm interested to see in camp and where the battle really is that bottom half of the roster. And that's, obviously we have the battle for number 3, but that's where, I want to see what Andrew Armstrong can do in these undrafted free agents. Eric Uzukama, is he going to fight? How is he going to fight to make the roster? Is it a special teams route? Where's that? D. Estridge, Tyreek Black, the receiving core is deep. And when you're a wide receiver and you're sitting there, right, and you're thinking to yourself, how can I make this Dolphins roster? Because you're looking up at the top of the hill and you see Tyreek Hill and Jaylen Waddle. You're like, well, I'm not going to bypass those guys, And then you see, Malik and you see Westbrook, who just got signed on to free agency. You're like, well, I could try that route. And then at the end of the day, you're like, I got to do something. I got to make some type of splash, either a returner, which is Malik's thing, or special teams, a gunner. So it's going to be very interesting. I'm interested to see what you guys have to say. Who are you interested to see with this battle and during preseason out of the wide receiving core? I want to see what Westbrook can do, but I'm really interested in seeing Andrew Armstrong and Theo Weiss. Let me know what you guys think. I will see you tomorrow. We're going to talk about the culture of the team. We're going to react, and I'm going to get you more information on that quote from Kendall Lamb, if it is a real quote or not. But like usual, stay classy. F ends up.